Love is in the air everywhere you look around. Something about shapes and sounds. I don't know the rest of the lyrics off the top of my head, but Skimmy, you took the words right out of my mouth, didn't you? I just can't breathe when I'm around you.
Do you need an inhaler? Are you okay?
We got a game to talk about. Sorry, it's just there's a lot going on right now. Max, throw it to me.
Ready?
Yep.
Ready, Mac?
Yep.
Catch.
Yep.
Oh.
Oh.
Hey. Oh, you could have actually played that off.
Wait. How's that happened?
Good soup. Let's talk about, I think we're talking Ion first. Yeah, let's talk about that before things get too weird. It's early in the show. We need to save some stuff for later. And we'll see if Ion have been saving something for this game because they're going to need to pull something out of their sleeves here, Skimmy, if they want to get the dub today.
They certainly will do because in terms of the last few games, it's been, 5 defeats on the bounce. They've certainly had their strength of schedule be favourable at the start, but they're going to be slipping down the rankings as they go up against the big dogs after big dogs, right? It was Team Bliss into Grand Zero, now up against Antic as well. They did look a little bit deflated last when we saw them, so you're really hoping that they've had a bit of a chance to regroup, recoup, and reset the mental because, look, in those initial weeks, they look really, really strong. So I'm looking forward to the likes of Jovi and Foreigner in particular to see what they can accomplish.
Yeah, we'll see what they're going to be able to do today. But of course, it's the big dogs you have to worry about, the Wolves to be exact. Antic Esports coming through with all this experience, and they're bouncing off the back of a loss, and they want to take that frustration out on someone, Max. And I think Ion might be on the wrong end of the stick here.
Yeah, unfortunately for Ion, they are going to be facing a very angry Antic who have just come off, like you said, that 0-2 to Bliss. So this is a team who really need to assert themselves back into their position at the top of the league, right? They are kind of falling behind a little bit in the standings compared to the likes of Bliss and Ground Zero. So if they're wanting to secure a good position, getting a 2-0 here today will be really important.
I think it's a very high possibility of that happening, but I'd love getting proven wrong on the good day, and I love getting proven wrong on Valentine's Day too, Skimmy. Now look, last time Antic were here, they went up against Team Bliss, mentioned it before, but there were moments where they definitely could have won that game. It just ended up being a battle of attrition and a big, chaotic, bloody broadcast when it always is here on the LCO, but this was just extra, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really was. Ultimately, it was a massive showdown in the mid lane where 280 carries didn't really get to play the game as they were able to focus at every single point. I loved it in the second game here. As you're seeing, they went for the Ziggs and Bard combination. I think we certainly expect to see a little bit more of that come out to play, showcasing that, yeah, King has all these titles about him, but he's not afraid to really, upset what is the go-to champion. So I think Nebula very much has been stuck to his guns, that I am just going to stick to these traditional AD carries, and I think it's going to be a huge advantage for them to try and exploit in that bot lane.
Okay. I think, where do you think that Ion's going to be able to find themselves an advantage here? Because they got to find something somewhere, Max.
Look, finding an advantage is quite hard. I always have liked Doraemon. I think he's a player who's filled me with confidence, and I think that if anything, the top lane could be a potential point of exploitation. That being said, he is obviously going up against Orinus, who has been incredible. Just a very stable top laner who doesn't really show many flaws in his gameplay. I think really if there's an avenue to attack, it is off the back of a bot lane play, right? I think that Nebula is someone who we spoke to him before, and he did mention kind of losing a little bit of confidence, but I hope that today he has had that opportunity to bounce back and resumes that very aggressive playstyle we loved from him in the earlier weeks. Okay,
well, we'll get to see that at some point, but we get to see Hex Flash right now. Mate, how are you feeling going into today's game? Of course, Antic, they're a little bit scary, so I want to know what your confidence levels are like.
Well, obviously, everyone has nerves, but we're just going to try our best and see what we can do.
Yeah, understandable. Now, what's it going to be like down in the bot lane today? How are you feeling with your champ pool as opposed to a lot? Look, I'm talking Antic. They've got a big champ pool, right? They've got a lot of experience, a lot more years under their belt. If you need to think about the things that you have going for you, like your positives, your pros, what would they be?
Well, I guess our pros probably working with our jungler and our mid laner. So hopefully today we can enable those two in carry.
Okay, well hopefully that works out for you, Skinny.
I mean, that was really going to be my question, right? What was going to be the high rate of success for your team to try and really target Antic? Because I'm assuming you're looking at Foreigner, looking to try and exploit the weakness of Swiper, not being that traditional jungler. Was that sort of the same wavelength from your end?
Yeah, I mean that is, I guess, one of our implied goals to try and expose Swiper for role swapping. He's actually really good. So hopefully we can try and get an edge of something he might have missed on his role transition.
Yeah. Hopefully that's the way it all works. And Max, mate, what you got for him?
Yeah, look, unfortunately the last couple of weeks haven't been the greatest for you guys. I want to know how the general vibe is of the team and how you kind of readjust coming into such a big game like this that is important against one of the big dogs in the league.
I mean, team environment's pretty good. I would say it's like every team always has the highs and lows, but we've kind of built our way of bonding as a team is just by making fun of each other and our own mistakes. So we're actually growing close as a team, and it's actually helping us improve a lot.
Perfect, good to hear.
Well, love to hear that. Now, I've not prepared a Valentine's poem for you, Hex Flash, but I'll just do one off the top of my head. Roses are red, violets are blue. I heard you're a good support. I'd ADC for you.
Whoa.
Wow.
And on that note, I'm gonna let you go, mate. Good luck in the game. Hopefully, you can focus on it after this love that's spilled out everywhere.
Okay. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
This with the kebab on
Little
Valentine's
Yes.
Day.
cheeky kebab.
Little cheeky one.
Look, if we have to talk to Dragku at any point today, I feel like we're going to be getting a couple of those words slid in at many points. Now, Skimmy, do you have something prepared for our next interviewee?
I do not.
Have you got a poem that you can slap out? I know you're smooth with it. I know your brain works.
It
I've
does
heard
work.
it. I've heard it working. It's ticking.
It does, and it is actively searching whilst we are stalling. So we're scrolling, we're searching.
I bet you Max has got something. Look at Mr. Smooth over there. He's smirking. He knows.
I don't even know who we're interviewing, to be honest, Mac.
Well, look, it's someone that you want to impress. It's it will be
okay.
Ryoma when he's in the link at the moment. But look,
What rhymes
Hex
with
Flash,
Ryoma?
Mboma.
Nothing good.
Mboma, bring him back.
Yeah. Alright, I'll get on it, Mac. I'll
Okay.
think about it.
Anything with like or you can try to slide it in there. All right, I'll just. I believe in you guys. Anyway, look, quickly touching on the end there with Hex Flash. They didn't seem super confident, but look, I was just trying to pry it to figure out what they need to focus on to try to make an upset happen, right? And they know that maybe there's going to be a weakness in the jungle, so as long as they can rotate together, then hopefully that works out for him, Skim.
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, I think ultimately they're going to be trying to find some degree of confidence just in their performance alone. Because I think if you look at the standings, you're going to say that, well, 4th position, they've still got a bloody good shot of making it into playoffs. So as rough as it's been with this recent run of form, I think they can know that, look, we've got 7 points. We look later down the bracket, 2, 1, and 0. You're thinking all we need to do is just have a strong performance. Even if we get 0 points, it's more prep, it's more understanding, it's more practice against the teams that we will end up facing.
Yeah, well, we'll see if that one works out for them. But they got to get past this guy. Ryoma, mate, get on the show. Hey, how you doing? Good to chat with
Good,
you.
how are you?
Good to meet you. I'm great. Skimmy, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Mac?
I'm lovely. I'm fantastic as well. Now, look, Ryoma, mate, today, of course, you probably got a little bit of pent-up frustration from that loss the other day, even though it was a very close game. So in 5 words or less, tell me what you're going to do to Ion.
5 words or less? Let me count. We should just stomp them.
Perfect. 5 on the dot.
Perfect, yeah.
There you go.
There you go. That was lovely. Yeah, so the stomp's on the cards. Beautiful. Now, for you in particular, how do you feel like your lane's going to go? Are you obviously super confident, or are you a little bit cautious going up against Ion because they're this fresh team? There's a little bit of experience behind them. They're pretty good mechanically. So do you still need to watch out for them?
I mean, I'll say this team isn't like the worst. I'd say they definitely top like half when it comes to I mean, I feel like it's obvious who the top 3 are, and then it goes Ion, I would say, after that, and pretty much there's another drop down after these guys, I think.
Okay, beautiful. Skimmy?
Well, yeah, speaking of the top 3, there's been a massive discussion around the mid lane in particular, right? Very stacked with yourself, Hayri, and Kisei as well. So Where would you, put Jovi in the mix of things? Would you say he's the best of the rest?
I mean, honestly, when I rate the teams, I normally base them off their mid laners, but he's number 4 probably, yeah. I'm pretty sure he is, at least, from based off scrims and stuff.
It's not going to change the outcome, though. You're still going to stomp.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think there's just a drop down between like the top 3.
And Max, mate, what do you got for the big man?
Look, Ryoma, I wanted to ask you kind of your feeling on teams playing against you, because what the vibe we've gotten from people when they appraise Antic is, obviously it's kind of you and the King show to carry. And I wanted to know if you feel that in game, if that's something that you're kind of cognizant of coming in, or you just play the same regardless.
I mean, I still feel like we're trying to find out how we want to play as a team. It's like still working things out. I think we're getting better, better and better, I'd say, as weeks go by. I guess I don't think it's like as simple as me and King will just carry. I think Zoranus has his days, DOS has his Swiper has his days, and Dracula has his days as well. Like everyone will have their day, I feel like. But I think the most important thing, at least for me, is just like pretty much seeing eye to eye in game. I feel like is what we're having trouble with, and as long as we see eye to eye in game, I think that's when like it should be harder for everyone else.
Lovely. Max, did you come up with that poem?
Look back, it was in the back of my head.
Yep.
So here's just a few lines that I came up with. Mid lane is easy when you're Ryoma. He's so good at League, he could even carry Mboma.
Ooh, that's a nasty one. I got a quick one as well before we send you out, Ryoma. Roses are red, violets are blue. My king, Ryoma. I'd buy you a donor. Kabang.
Oh!
Let's see you later, Ryoma.
He said the word.
Good luck in the game. That didn't roll off the tongue as it did in my head because I forgot I had to rhyme it with blue.
That didn't rhyme.
Roses are red, my king Bioma, violets are blue, I'd buy you a donut. Maybe something like that. Either way.
Oh, yes!
Big.
Let's
Recovered.
look. Side, select, here. Look at
Come
it,
on.
look at it. Red side, blue side.
Ooh.
Ooh, Ion. Maybe taking a note, taking a page out of the book of bliss because it's been working for them really bloody well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm very curious then as to where that counter pick is going to go. Is it as simple as saying it's going to be in the mid lane where we were just discussing? We've heard before that people say that Doraemon's got a bit of a limited champion pool in the top lane. Obviously, Zoranus wouldn't be too upset him just spam Cassante on repeat and just blind it into any matchup. So, yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what they actually do save that red side 5th pick for.
Okay, well, we'll see. And you guys need to see as well. That thing up there, the button. But you gamble, get your Twitch points and let us know how you think this one's going to go. And we'll see if you can stay ahead of us in predictions because you're Giga Brain, you're Giga Chat.
They can definitely beat me, Mac. Look how far behind I am.
Oh my goodness.
Couple. Well, I'm only one behind Twitch Chat, like myself and Nat, so we're getting there. But we're all on the same page, so we're only falling behind altogether today, or Twitch Chat's somehow calling a draw, some upset win. We never know what's going to be going down. But of course, it is 6 p.m. So I think the players are getting ready. Let's talk Champ Select. What do we see happening here? Do you think that Ion's going to be pulling up some kind of comfort champs to maybe feel a little bit better going into this one, Max?
Look, I think the red side pick does kind of throw me. It obviously found success from the Bliss series, right, where they used it to kind of prioritize jungle as that counter pick that they wanted to save it for. I'd be very surprised if we see a similar thing. I think teams kind of have a good read on what Swiper is going to be picking in the jungle in the majority of situations, so you kind of feel comfortable just blind picking and accepting whatever the outcome is. I really do think this is going to go towards one of those solo lanes. I think that like Simi Scared, I think the mid lane is going to be hyper important in the success of this game. We saw what happens when Ryoma has a good lane matchup. On the Orianna, he's just absolutely crushing it. Oh.
Yeah, crushing it.
Hey, Mac.
Champ Select's ready. I've got to go because Pika, I think, needs to go outside, but we'll see you after the game.
Well, with that theory in mind, let's actually jump into the draft and kickstart tonight's festivities with Antic on the left-hand side getting first pick priority. My big question is, what is first pick worthy for them in this series? Is it simple as saying, we look into Kalista, Iron snap respond with Isaiah Rakan?
Well, that's kind of what Antic is looking like they're going towards. You can see that there's double AD carry bands onto the Lucian and Varus to kind of create some space in the draft for this first pick Kalista, which we've seen them bring out before to great success, right? King and Draku here the game when they played Kalista Renata was incredibly oppressive because from level 1 they were skirmishing, from level 1 they were finding advantages in that lane. And with the Renata still available, you'd have to imagine that they'd have a similar thing in mind this game.
Certainly would do, but the Renata isn't going to be considered at this stage unless they decide to pivot at the very last second. Zaya Rakan certainly consideration, but Nebula we know absolutely loves playing Jinx and certainly wants some reset potential. The question though becomes, what does Hex Flash look to try and pair alongside with? Are you going for Engage, or do you want the Enchanter? And if not any of that, do you just want to lock in your mid laner blind?
I think this is a really smart denial though here from the side of Ion. Rayama looked very, very strong on this Orianna pick in the mid lane, just stomping lane and then really kind of being everywhere on the map was he on this pick. So I think that, yes, it's also securing Jovi a nice champion that he feels comfortable on. He feels like he can kind of play that control mage style in the mid lane and really hold things down, but you're also denying it from the side of Ryoma. So the response will be the Rel instead of the Renata here coming out from Antic. Keep in mind that this still does have the potential to go towards the jungle. We haven't really been seeing it at all in that position just because of it's being outpaced by other junglers, but certainly a Draku staple and one that will be very hard to match from the side of Ion.
Certainly will be. It's an incredibly strong champion in that regard as the Azir comes out to play. It actually throws me all the way back to week 1 when it was Jovi into Chirp in this particular matchup. And Jovi certainly had a pop-up performance, finishing that game 9-3-6. So no doubt expecting that this could be a similar outcome for him individually. The Maokai though, that's what gets picked up here by Frona. A bit of a smile on Swiper's face, knowing that it's a champion he's certainly been picking up more and more recently.
I'm sure he's very grateful, Skimmy, that he doesn't actually have to pick that one. I think that playing him that many games in Maokai certainly does something to you. You do want to have the opportunity to kind of branch out a little bit and play some of those different picks, but with Iron picking it up there is still a little bit of flexibility as to where this could go, right? We saw it played in support yesterday by Kurak. Obviously, into that double range matchup made it a little bit harder, but if you're playing into Rel, it's actually quite a good matchup because you do have the ability to kind of counter a lot of the engage that's going to come through. So definitely a viable support pick, and as we know, we have been seeing it in the jungle. So Ion retaining a nice little bit of flexibility to round out their draft.
So there's a fair bit of flexibility between both of these rosters as 3 more junglers get taken away and that all-important Cassandra, which we thought would have a massive impact, gets taken off the board too. And I suppose that then begs the question, what would Ion look to try and lock in for that top lane? Rumble has certainly been Doraemon's most successful champion, you'd argue, but Aatrox and Gragas have not been too far behind. So whether or not he feels like he needs to lock that one in because it is a known quantity, or they want to keep them guessing because they've prepared something special for this match.
Yeah, and I think the special thing's going to come out there, Skimmy, in the form of the brand. So confirming the position of both of these champions, the brand 4P was the Bliss kind of classic against Antic, kind of saying and throwing down the gauntlet to Swiper, saying that you don't have a good answer into this. You only play melee engaged champions who brand is absolutely fine to play against. And ultimately, that will allow them to save the counter pick for Doraemon up in that top lane. Now the question is what does Antic actually respond with, right? Thinking about Swiper's champion pool, you have things like the Jarvan, and I assume that's kind of the A-tier pick here, but it's actually going to be the Rel going towards that jungle. So a lot of engage, a lot of Swiper potential to start those fights from him in the jungle.
It certainly is, and I'd say once upon a time you'd say even Nautilus was the flex into the jungle, but that is certainly not the case at the moment. Rel and Brand both phenomenal at zerging down one of those Void Grubs, especially if they want to try and do it across the wall. They can get in, get out, and blast that down in under 10 seconds. But the Gnar comes into play as well. That is the blind option here for Zoras. I think of him and Gnar, it's always multi-man stuns, leaping in, finding the perfect engage time and time again. And I think Antic have found the perfect comp for themselves. But the response here from Ion, what would it be to Aurelia?
Wow, okay, this is something you don't see in comp very often at all. And the reason is, it's an incredibly risky and incredibly kind of high variance matchup in this top lane. Aurelia has a fantastic time against Gnar in the laning phase because anytime that Gnar's in that mini form, she can always jump on him. She has the mobility to chase him down even with his hops. But that being said, it is very reliant on getting ahead in lane. And Antic, they've got so much CC to be able to stop this Aurelia that Doraemon is going to have his work cut out for him. That
really is the concern because, I mean, in my mind, we certainly saw this matchup be very, very common a good couple of years ago. But in recent times, despite it being that strong matchup, it's a case of, well, I can win lane perhaps, but then what happens when I group up into a team fight? There's a bunch of CC. I just feel a little bit useless. You almost want that that clutch cleanse from the support being used on you rather than your AD carry, which is not ideal. Certainly isn't the case, but there's no denying now Ion have boatloads of damage, and if they get a chance for a little bit of uptime, the likes of an Aurelia and a Jinx really run away with it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I really like this draft because of how spicy it is from the side of Ion, right? There is no frontline whatsoever. This Maokai is going to be support and will basically just get trued through the second that he steps up because he will be underleveled. And that really makes it come down to execution, right? It's going to be about finding those flanking angles. It's going to be about empowering this Aurelia to actually get onto the back line. Because if she's able to do that with a lead that she's gained in lane, it will be an absolute terror for the likes of Kalista to have to go against. Meanwhile, Antic, they've got a bunch of CC, they've got a bunch of easy fights set up, and are wanting this game to go stable towards the top side so they can blow open that bot lane.
But that seems to be the major sort of overarching theme of this one, right? For Antic, it is very simple go buttons. The case of a Nautilus jumps in, be it the Nard, the Rail, even the Azir to some extent, although it doesn't necessarily have to be that one that's looking for those, faker flanking plays. Can certainly just play front to back, but it feels very much on brand for Antic. Ease of execution, certainly in their favor. As for Ion, you talk about spicy, but there's so much elegance to it, right? You really need to be on point with, CDs and understanding when your window is to pounce.
And that's going to be a very limited window, right? Because looking at this team composition, how do they actually start a fight? Without this Maokai CC, you have very limited engage besides, a brand running at you is kind of your best form of engage. So it's going to really come down to these lanes that they can accrue leads in, right? They need to be ahead in mid, they need to be ahead in top, and hopefully use that pure inherent damage advantage to overcome those fights.
Well, let's waste no more time then, Mex. Let's load ourselves into Rift for the very first time here tonight. It's Antic in third place with 9 points. Ion just behind them with 7 points in fourth position. Both these teams already looking to have secured their spots in the playoffs.
30 seconds until minions
But
spawn.
both teams still hunting for the best potential seeding. And that's what it really comes down to here for Ion. There is the gauntlet of fire. Big team after big team. Any point would be an absolute dream for them, as it most well and truly would secure themselves that playoff booth.
Yeah, I absolutely love this approach from Ion, to be honest. The fact that they've come out here in game 1 versus Antic, it really said that we're not going to leave anything in the kitchen. We're going to take it all out, and we're going to pick the Aurelia in game 1. If this works, it's a statement win here from Ion, the fact that they're confident in both their laning and their players to carry the game, but that will have to be seen as the game goes on, and my eyes are going to be firm pressed towards this top lane because Aurelia versus Nara is so spicy, right? The mechanical and wave control is so important. As a little hook has found Hex Flash here. Looks like it's a little invade to start the game off for Antic.
It certainly is. This is a play that we've seen well rehearsed and produced the exact results in the last time it was used, right? It was a case of running in as a free man to that blue buff, guaranteeing that the life of the enemy jungle was pretty much non-existent, and Swiper managed to accrue a fairly large lead as a result. And as we know, and as we've seen from a lot of these LCO games in weeks gone by, if the jungler's ahead, the laners tend to get ahead, and it just gives them so much priority to put the pressure out very early on. Nebula already bleeding, flash forward heal, it is enough as the Ignite finishes, and he barely limps away.
How many times are Antic going to be able to get away with the same thing? You can see it's just a simple walk-in. They map split level 1, and that just flips the game from there. It is a nice heal, though, from Nebula, waiting till the Ignite runs out to be able to use that Summoner spell and, crucially, have enough health to live. But still, that's 2 waves lost, 0 CS and 0 Summoners on this Jinx, and there's a Rel in this bot lane as well.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point, Swiper can stand on vision without a care in the world. Yeah, sure, you could go for the Wolf Camp, but your presence alone is enough to say that Nebula, you return to lane, you're level 1, 0 CS, no summoners. Like, you're not hitting level 3 anytime soon.
They have brought Foreigner down here on this brand here. He might be able to be the saving grace. It's a level 3 on this brand, but keep in mind, only level 1 on the bot lane.
Hook is on, Glacial Augment connects, and it slows down Hex Flash so much so that he's going to be forced to panic flash away. Burns the Ignite. No summoners now existing in this bot lane, but King has found himself stuck far too aggressively and actually gives across first blood to Ion.
Finally, it feels like we have a response to this bot lane play that we see so often. Foreigner taking advantage of the window where Swiper is level 2 to come down and use that level advantage. The hook is on and it lands onto the Maokai, but this is a Maokai who has Aftershock, right? He's not going down anytime soon. And then there's no flash on King from the earlier play. That means that it's an easier kill for Foreigner. So this brand who has been able to have a very nice start in terms of farming, is going to be feeling really nice at 3 minutes into this game.
It certainly will be. It's a fantastic response to the early invade, the denial of the blue buff, which obviously helps speed your clear phenomenally as that AP mage. And the punishment is overdue, you would say, given that this has happened too many times now. And I suppose that the After Effects look to try and really spread themselves across the map here. You talked about the volatility in the top lane. I would say that's true to a degree in the mid lane as well, is Jovi's pressure's been so much that they've already had to TP back.
Well, we kind of saw this yesterday with the matchup between Hayri and Refury. In this matchup, Azir was just getting absolutely destroyed. Obviously, the skill levels here are a little bit more even, you would have to say. But still, certainly a matchup where either can take control of this lane. The Orianna, if she's able to land those QWs without the Azir being able to poke back onto her, will just slowly pressure you out of the laning phase. And that's why, Orianna has been such a priority for these two mid laners. But Zonis in the top lane, opting to start the Doran Shield both of these top laners. So neither one of them willing to give any ground, neither one of them wanting to take that Doran Shield. Instead saying it's all about the all-in, it's all about the damage. Because the first kill really decides this lane.
It certainly does, and there's no need to commit to the Ignite in this case, right? They still do value the macro ability that the TP certainly does offer, but at this stage, Zonis is certainly abusing his ranged advantage, and first purchase will be rush back to base, pick up those plated steel caps, and continue to harass from afar and eke out any kind of small advantage to win out those trades.
Steel caps is such a good buy here. Provides so much value as Dracu will show his face in the mid lane. Does have the flash if he wants to use it. But likely just forcing out Jovi. Actually, no, here he goes.
He does. That's a support Nautilus, but Nautilus does so much damage. The base is so high. The flash across the wall. And everything being burnt there by Jovi. He had no HP. He had little to no mana. And in top lane, Doraemon, despite having no boots, opting for more sustain, gets a phenomenal trade.
Yeah, it's a common joke in solo queue. That stun lands, you have too much, it's almost a solo kill. But the current bit with Irelia is that, if you do get a Vamp Scepter, that's essentially full build for laning phase. It provides so much value. It's a bit of trading towards this top lane. Ult's on.
Level 6 is there first for Doraemon, or rather for Zoranus, who goes aggressive, slams him against the wall, but Doraemon's still looking to try and get aggressive. But down in the bot lane now, the fight favors Antic. Draco rotating straight back to bot, looking at Hex Flash and saying, we punished you early, you've got no flash, you can twist and advance to that, but the cavalry has arrived. Ryoma scoops back Nebula, and you'd imagine now, served on a silver platter is that double kill. They're biding their time in the alcove, but Ryoma's roam proves ever so impactful.
Yeah, it does. 2 kills there into the hands of the Azir, who uses that window mid lane that was created by Dracu roaming up and forcing Jovi off the lane to come down and pick up a double kill. You can actually see that the initial skirmish was going in the favor of Ion, right? They do manage to kill King in that 2v2 situation, but it's simply a numbers difference. Once that Azir rocks up with that ultimate available, your flashless Jinx is just going to go down. So we were talking about the volatility of this mid matchup. 2 kills into the hands of the Azir certainly helps.
Certainly when it was so volatile and so even as well with the CS, and all it takes is one good rotate and it completely gets undone. It's a phenomenal bit of timing as well to understand that Hex Flash and Nebula were about to get their flash up, and just under 10 seconds they picked their moment and it worked out beautifully.
Yeah, we can see again the zap landing onto King just slows him enough to get rooted here. You can see that crucially buys space for Hex Flash to get on top. Yes, King has this cleanse, but what are you actually cleansing? There's so much CC to come out of this Iron bot lane that he ends up going down. And unfortunately for Nebula, you can see his flash is just about to come off cooldown when Ryoma shows here and shuffles him in for an easy double kill.
Certainly does. It's a phenomenal way with the last bit of mana expended to guarantee the double is there. Get some of that mana back with the presence of mind and continue to siege on through. And this really accelerates how that laning phase could work in the mid lane, and certainly tips the scales rather in his favor. I'm curious now, with that in mind, if he can get the shove on consistently, where does he look to influence again? Do we just go to top lane now? Because that's the next part where it has no flash. It would really be a sitting duck.
Yeah, it really was quite a close skirmish in that top lane with both ultimates being used. Unfortunately, no one is going down, and the longer the game kind of goes with Irelia being in an even state, you feel happy as this Gnar, because the game kind of gets easier for you. Yes, Blade of the Ruined King is a very hard spike for the Irelia, but after that, you're feeling pretty decent about the way the lane's going.
Wow. That was an interesting interaction there with the Twisted Advance completely cancelling out the Dredge line. Next Flash getting his number there over Dracu.
This is refreshing to see, though, from the bot lane of Ion, right? They're actually able to push up now. They're actually able to be the ones who have control of the lane somewhat. And you can see Foreigner down there to back them up as well when needed. So just some really nice cohesive play from Ion. Really reflective of a team who have taken these last couple of weeks where they have been losing and used them as learning opportunities. They haven't been discouraged. But neither has Doraemon from a little bit of trading in the top lane.
Certainly hasn't been, and you'd imagine you need to continue at this pace, or much to your point from before, you get a little bit concerned about how this game could play on out. Dominus there just before he expires, back into Mini. Shoves the wave back with his ultimate, clearing it all, and taking a big chunk out of Doraemon in the process, but he'll be looking to try and trim this wave and reset with those Blade Searches to regroup it, or rather recoup it all back up in a heartbeat. Meanwhile, bot lane, it feels like we're back to level 1 again, as they are zoning the bot lane of Ion completely from this tower.
Yeah, there's no one really to save them here. Jovi does have the teleport, but is pressed under his own turret at the same time, so any teleport there would be incredibly self-sacrificing. Fortunately for Ion, they will be able to walk back up with this level 6 timer on Nebula. They are able to contest the wave as Jovi's been found in the mid lane.
He has been found. Out goes the Magnet Storm to guarantee that he is not moving anywhere, and now Ryoma has 3 kills to his name, as well as a bounty. And this mid lane matchup, what looked like it was becoming a bit of a close one, has certainly now become fairly one-sided.
Absolutely. Swiper getting involved as well, keeping up his 100% kill participation in this game. And that gold will go right into the pocket of Ryoma, picking up a Nash's Tooth on his base here. So very spiked at this early in the game, very willing to get involved in fights as we've seen before. And we can actually see an interesting adaptation here. A lane swap coming out to put this Azir in the bot lane.
Yeah, so strong so early on, so much so that they believe that, well, there's only a few more plates left in that bot lane. Let's punish this Orianna that's already been put behind. But Foreigner is incredibly strong himself. He's already got the Rylai's, he's got the Dark Seal too. Yes, he's got no boots, but he's been farming up an absolute storm. And with one of their only 2 kills, he can turn that attention now towards these Void Grubs. He picked up 3 the first time. If he can get all 6 here, they are in such a prime position.
Absolutely are, and with the way that Brand takes them, it's just an incredibly easy experience. You can see his passive spreading to every single one of those grubs, proccing multiple times, basically one-shotting the camp. And it looks like with the solo lane priority, he will be able to pick up all 6. Now, the price for that obviously is these plates towards the bottom side of the map. You've sent Azir down here for a reason, right? Probably to try to contest those grubs in the first place with his use of TP. But he'll definitely be happy picking up those 2 plates.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be under too much concern, knowing that that bot lane is fairly behind in terms of levels. 3-level advantage there for the Azir. The rotation comes across now, and that bot lane then returns to find them. Out goes the depth charge, knocking up 2. Nebula forced to flash away and burn that heal. And Draku just out of range for that second dredge line to connect. And that bot lane tower is hanging on for dear life.
So is Hex Flash here. He's isolated 1v4 under the turret. What can he do?
He can't really do too much right now. It's the simplest. Northless hitting his passive. The auto attack guarantees that he ain't moving anywhere. And King, having died twice, gets a kill back of his own.
The way that Antic are playing around bot lane is just completely brutal, right? As Ryoma found Jovi.
Clears the way, scoops him back under, hits him with 2 tower shots. And credit to Doraemon actually making the rotate from top to mid to protect him if they did pursue that any further. But he gets away for the meantime.
Jovi will luckily walk out unharmed there, besides the HP that he took in trade. But already Antic, you can see they're starting to exert their control over things. This mid lane Azir is definitely becoming a problem. But it's Foreigner who will take advantage of this little lapse in timer from Antic and equalize the Dragons at 1 apiece.
Well, that seems to be the real theme at this point, doesn't it? That Foreigner's trying his absolute hardest to try and carry his team out of the hole they're finding themselves in. 6 stacks of the Void Grubs. The Dragon Soul denied, but he's got lanes to try and look to really help them out, because it's completed items really across the board. He's the only one that has that to his name at this stage. He just needs a few more kills. Be it an assist as well. He would love to get that Dark Seal stacked up and be a real menace.
The good thing about Brand this game is he certainly does have a fair bit of room to hit the champions, right? Nautilus and Rel, you're both going to assume will just be standing kind of as that front line, looking for an engage, so he can just stack up his passive, he can throw his ulti off them. And we've seen Brand's topic damage. We saw when Why Not played it against Antic, he was topic damage in both of those games, so definitely a huge propensity to carry here. The question is though, is there actually the time for him to hit in these fights? Because you can see that Ion, a very squishy team comp here outside of that Maokai, and with a Brand, if he gets caught by a Nautilus Hook, yes, he can do damage, but he also takes a bunch.
Certainly will be okay, so really dropping the Pillar of Flame, proccing the ultimate and saying, my job here is done. Let that bounce around as I watch with a grey screen and hope that my team can play clean up. Well, for all the volatility, I suppose, that top lane did possess, it still has been very even. Nothing really dividing these two at this stage. The CS very much on point for them. And like you said, no doubt Zoranos will be feeling pretty confident about this one, saying I'm going to be much more of a relevant force once those team fights come around. I can offer a fair bit more. But Doraemon ticking across to level 11. Second charge on an ultimate now. You're feeling like, well, if you can take a trade, I mean, he's been hunting, constantly pushing away from rotating, but unable to find anybody isolated at this stage.
Unfortunately, no 1v1 opportunities have really sprung up besides that first one that we saw now. For Doraemon, I guess the good aspect is there is a bit of a longer lane here now in this bot lane. With that turret being taken, he does have a bit more room to work against Zoranos, who's just a little bit of gold away from completing his Trinity Force. So this is certainly the window you do want to look at if you are an Irelia. But that being said, you know, Zoranos is a very respectful player. He knows his windows. He knows when to respect and to not die, not fall victim to those 1v1s. As Jovi might be falling victim right now.
Does seem pretty greedy there from Jovi to try and go for the face check to make sure that Swiper on Vision wouldn't get punished, but he's just baited himself into a false sense of hope.
Oh,
Out
no.
goes the Vanguard's Edge. It doesn't hit anything, which is an absolute disaster for any kind of Blade Surge reset. And ultimately, you just say, well, yeah, it's a TP in just to hit the wave.
It's a TP in. I'm not even sure if that Vanguard's Edge has landed if he wants it, but Doraemon
Gets scooped underneath the tower, and that TP looks like it's gone now from bad to worse. And what looked like a play in which Iron was saying, we've caught you out, we know exactly where you are. It's really allowed Antic to do as they please. Swiper will drop the Herald, summon it instantly, and crash it in to find the second turret of the game.
Yeah, and there are some pretty long death timers here as well on Doraemon, so that second charge is going to do a bunch of damage, and you have to imagine that the rest of Antic do want to look at taking this second tier turret too, as the hook is found in the mid lane. X-Flash is quite slippery though, so we'll get out, and Jovi arrives just in time to prevent even more gold going into the pocket of Ryoma.
Yeah, at this stage now, you've really got to try and pick your battles as to what's most important to try and deny the Pillar of Flame across the wall. Nice there from Foreigner to delay the reset, keep the tempo in their favor. Dragging up in about a minute now. And mid lane control obviously ever so important for Iron to try and contest this one if they want to try and delay the inevitable here for Antic. But I wouldn't be too amiss if they were to try and play around just hitting some turrets in the process, right? Jovi does have TP available for him. But this wave is fairly pushed back and to be pretty risky, given that he just fell down before.
Would be very risky, especially against that Azir in a long lane, right? With how fed he is at the moment, you almost have to assume that any 1v1 would go in the favor of Ryoma. Interesting to note as well that Jovi has gone towards this Luden's Companion here first item. We saw Hayri yesterday really valuing the Archangels and kind of the survivability that that gives as a first item. But instead, Jovi, kind of true to form almost, wants to just pump out as much damage as physically possible.
Yeah, that really has been his go-to this entire split so far. No matter how far behind I am, I'm always building to be a damaging threat. Can be 1 and 5 as the KDA, but I won't change how I look to try and play the game. As for Antic though, you're still saying, well, this Azir is so hyper-accelerated. 450 gold bounty, 4-0-2. This time, the Vanguard's Edge does connect, and this time, Doraemon finds his kill. Shut down onto King. The Callista is gone. Blast coned across the wall inside the Dragon River. As they flash away to safety, he found a second one. He's still alive for the meantime, but it's a double kill before he falls on down. Swiper surrounded by 4, and Ion win the fight convincingly.
That's the Irelia flank Doraemon was hoping for. He finds King, instantly blows him up even through the flash, and then he lives for so long. This Irelia and Brand combo providing so much value to just blow up the members of Antic. And Skimmy, Ion, they've been 1 and 5 in their last couple games. We see this play again here. There's an Irelia in this bush the whole time. King has no idea. You can see the flash still lands the Irelia E, and that's the crucial thing, right? Gives Doraemon that Q reset that he needs to dash around the rest of this team fight, and Jovi rocks up a very nice shockwave that Ryoma has to flash. And Skimmy, the game was all Antic up until this point, but now Ion have found a foothold.
It really is that turning point in this game, you'd have to imagine, because with that, they've denied that second dragon. Back into another fight we go, and Jovi has committed everything to hit that tower in the bot lane. That was our concern in these rather long lanes, but he's conceded himself to guarantee that they have a little bit of extra pressure. Now the gold lead goes from what was a fairly big advantage in favor of Antic, shrinking to just below 2,000.
I find it funny that every time we say a player's done really well, they just die instantly coming out of the replay. And that's exactly what happens there. Jovi falling victim to that extended lane against Draku, who we know is very willing to find collapse on players in those side lanes when they are overextended. So this Orianna is going to need to be really, really careful now. That 2 dragons going over to the side of Ion is huge. It is an Ocean Soul potentially on the cards. And looking at the champions of Ion, this is certainly a team comp that is willing to go late game, right? Brand providing so much value. We know how a Jinx can scale. And then it starts to become a question of, okay, well, Antic, yes, they have the Azir, but Kalista, not really the ideal AD carry to be having at that 30-40 minute mark. So there is a world in which Ion, they're able to drag this game out. And potentially we've got a whole more volatile game on our hands.
Well, that's certainly what you're hoping for as a viewer, to be entertained by the prospects of an upset. And I tell you what, for King, his life as an AD carry becomes even riskier now without a single summoner available. That range that you highlight already been a bit of a risky factor. The fact that he flashes back into the Flawless Duet still to get stunned up by the Aurelia certainly does leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But as they go for the rotate here, Antic, they look to really complete the top lane sweep, which was the Herald getting summoned to headbutt 2 towers and completely expose that side of the map here. Here comes the wave now. Swiper just hovering around to make sure no funny business happens.
Shockwave will be committed to try to trim this wave, but it won't be enough. Ryoma knows that the second that goes down, he feels safe to push. But meanwhile, on the other side, it will be a little bit of a trade here. Foreigner might be able to get some damage onto Zoranus.
Looking for it right now is Zoranus, who's going to try and bop and walk away. Gets hit by so much damage. The ultimate's still preserved there by the Brand. It's not lethal, but the Baron, as you say, has been started up as Zoranus limps away. The trade may just be a case of you can get the Baron, we'll continue to siege with the Void Grubs, and see who can push better.
This just melts Skimmy. I mean, they've got a Kalista, they've got an Azir all hitting this. This is just gone.
It is gone with no real response here from Iron, apart from the fact that we know it's gone. We know we can't respond fast enough, so we'll take 2 towers. That is our win con right now. Match is certainly even now, as it is a 2k difference still that perseveres. And Antic, I think, just in the back of their mind right now, will be thinking this Baron needs to find a bit of success, or this game's getting a little bit dicey.
Absolutely, especially with the amount of gold that Iron just were able to pick up, right? Yes, they lost the Baron, but they got a tier 2 turret and that tier 1 in mid lane, so certainly not a bad position to be in structure-wise. The question is now, how are we going to use these side lanes? How are we going to use this Azir to actually make some value happen? Because Kalista, not the best champion at just being able to walk up and hit a turret, especially against Orianna and Jinx. So it's really going to come down to moving this Azir around the map, creating pressure in the side lanes with Nara as well, and then looking for a fight, which Hexflash is looking for.
He certainly is. He's on the front foot now, looking to try and find whatever he can, be it that summoner burn or an engage that they still look to try and fight their way through. Hexflash not going to burn that flash just yet. The Fate's Call comes out, dragging Draku back into safety as both supports are dangerously low, but in jumps Swiper looking for the Magnet Storm, and they flash away to safety. The ultimate there, not finding the success they were really hunting for. And the Baron at this stage, it's not really being used to the success that you'd usually expect.
Everyone wants to fight, but no one actually goes down there. You can see multiple engages back and forth there from either team. Crucially, everyone limps out with a fraction of HP. Flashes used on both supports there, as well as Swiper and Jovi. Crucially for Ion, Nebula does get to keep his flash. That's kind of the key summoner spell to keep your eye on. But Antic, they'll take advantage of Ion having to reset and break this tower, and they might break Jovi as well.
They certainly may do, and give him his 4th death of the game. The Shockwave on their head, it's an afterthought. It looks nice, it's pretty, but it doesn't change his outcome. 1 and 4 now is this Orianna, desperately needing some form of defense, be it the Banshees or the Zonias. He's not going to find that any time soon. The kill in the bot lane, the siege in the mid lane, and that's going to be answered here by Doraemon in the top lane. I mean, these teams are hunting for those picks, but very much objective focused.
Very objective focused from Ion. It is those towers that have been all important. You can see that those 6 Void Grubs that they managed to pick up are doing absolute numbers in enabling Doraemon to get these towers killed in the side lane. Actually going to be a little disrespectful here with that auto attack. Perhaps trying to bait Zoranus here into a fight.
They are going to bait him. He's in the mini Nar form right now. And the rocket comes all the way from the mid lane, and that gives Nebula the kill that he so desperately needs. A massive shutdown in his inventory. And that, I think, is the pressure Iron are hunting for. Doraemon wants to invite that 1v1, baits the pressure, and has this team wrap around to protect.
Doraemon has impressed me so much on this Irelia here. You can see he tethers that Gnar perfectly, baiting him back into the waiting arms of Brand, who's really been the quiet achiever this game, Skimmy. 2-0 and 4 here now is Foreigner on this pick. 183 CS, so very ahead of the curve in terms of his jungle opponent, of about 50 CS. And this is a champion who can really pump out some serious damage if he's allowed to proc his passive in team fights.
Certainly can. This is the matchup I was most excited to see as a strong point here for Ion, and I'm certainly glad that it is delivering on that front. The experience is paying off here big time, and protecting that perfect KDA. The only person on Ion right now that has not fallen down, not even fallen down this entire game, as there's by no means a perfect game across the board here. 6 stacks in the Dark Seal, a very strong threat. And it does still feel like one of those games where you can't write it off just yet. Yes, Antic still have that gold lead. And yes, Ion are still looking to siege, but by no means is this one going to be a quiet one, as there's no real major objective to contest anytime soon. But they're still hunting for those fights.
Still hunting is Antic. You can see that a team this experienced, they kind of know how to force pressure, even when there aren't any of those major objectives that we were talking about, right? They kind of use the red buff and that top lane Sun Disc that they had set up courtesy of Ryoma to bait Ion to try to get them to walk into the jungle. But fortunately, Ion, they're showing restraint. And this game, they really have been more disciplined than they have shown in previous weeks. They have been willing to accept trades on the other side of the map instead of just blindly walking into fights. And so far, it's working in their favor. The gold lead's only 3,000. And with the scaling of a Jinx, Orianna, and Brand, you're feeling pretty decent about that spot.
You certainly are feeling pretty good about the position you find yourself in right now. I suppose at this point, really, with the third update, or upgrade rather, on the ultimates with level 16 starting to come across the board, you're really thinking this is getting into dangerous territory. Late game power is starting to come online, and some of it's going to be the utmost importance, because you can bet your bottom dollar that this next Baron in under 60 seconds now is where the teams are both going to try and say, well, all in for this one, because this could be the game ender.
They absolutely will. You can see the resets coming in now for the Ion solo laners, wanting to retake vision as a unit. Oh, it's just so risky to walk into anywhere, especially with that Mega Gnar available for Zoranus. But someone's got to bite that bullet eventually. Someone has to be the first one to walk in, and unfortunately for Ion, they don't have the luxury of a Kalista ult to be able to save that frontliner, to save that first person who walks in. So it really will come down to a blind check or a skirmish on mid lane.
It's Draku forcing the agenda, flash forward in the mid lane, hits the hook thereafter, locks in place 3 people as Foreigner goes gold and protecting his KDA for the meantime, but he's going to try and expend all his cooldowns as he falls down eventually. Ryoma with the flash scoop on top 4! And that is an MVP hero's effort to get the ace.
The game was teetering on a knife's edge, but there we go. There's the tipping point from Antic. They just simply force a fight on mid lane, take advantage of a temporary numbers mismatch, and they find the kill. There are some decent death timers here, but not long enough, you'd imagine, to actually be able to end the game. This looks like an inhibitor and a Baron angle from Antic. Looks like they're going to send King down towards that Baron to be able to pick that up with Swiper while the rest of the members secure this in mid lane inhibitor. But that is the turning point we wanted. That is a breaking point here for Antic. And this Ryoma, this Azir, 8-1-6, just so much damage. As we take a look at this play again, you can see they acknowledge the fact that Jovi's top. That's really the signal here for them to go. Zoranus TP's in instantly to try to match, and the hook onto Foreigner is perfect. You can see Ryoma's positioning means he's able to hit freely this entire fight, gets those 2 kills, and then swoops in, and that scoop is just deadly.
Beautiful, it really is. And I love the confidence there from Draku to pull the trigger and say, there's the ultimate, there's the flash hook, let's get this fight started. This is a fight on winning terms for us. And the team will all align. That was a big point from Ryoma's interview just before, right, about making sure we all see eye to eye on things. Well, that looked flawless. That looked like the perfect ace into a cohesive understanding that, no, there is not a 2k gold divide between us. We are far better than that. Sidestepping at the flawless duet as Doraemon finds himself surrounded by 3. He takes the gamble, he jumps in with the ultimate, and regrets that decision instantly. He's just not strong enough.
He has to try to find something there. He knows he would get ran down otherwise, but unfortunately, with that flawless duet missing, he's not going to be able to actually find the kill. I doubt he would, even if that does land, because Antic is all there. They're moving as a unit now, and protecting this Azir is the #1 objective. With this Baron buff, they can finally start to crack open the base of Ion.
Well, with mid lane already taking them down, you're certainly looking towards this bot lane right now. Jovi's going to do whatever he can to try and shove out top lane to really prevent them playing some very much methodical League of Legends. and really putting the crunch on. Stuck inside their base is where Iron certainly find themselves now, with Baron online and Cannon Minions inspired by that. 2 inhibitors will fall very, very quickly. The question now becomes for Antic, how did they decide to close this one out? They got an Ocean Dragon to go away and deny from Ion, but they've certainly got a wave to look forward to in the top lane too.
Yeah, Antic, they're splitting their forces now, sending Ryoma down to solo this one out. Azir will have absolutely no trouble taking this, just melts through objectives at this stage and this level of items. And like you quoted, that methodical League of Legends really coming to fruition here in this top lane. Teleport will be used. If a triple inhibitor goes down, yes, the game doesn't instantly end, but it almost feels like it does with the amount of pressure that comes out. So how do Iron respond? Do they let this go down? Or do they make a Hail Mary fight here?
Oh, what a fantastic shuffle there from Roma. No flash, but dodges out that shockwave. That is the ghost signal Jovi was hunting for. And Iron will be denied. They've set their line in the sand. Said the Sun Disc is there. We are going forward and forward only. Hook starts it off as Draku jumps in. They find their target and they take down Hex Flash. Scoop goes in. They get the kill back. Doraemon finds one, but it's just not enough as he's dead for 50 seconds. There is the Summoner Heal, but Nebula gets denied that reset as King gets the double. And the writing is on the wall here. Triple inhibitors claimed. The supers now started to come inside the base. And those Nexus Towers, all that remain. Double flash, denying Swipe off the scoop back that he was hunting for. But Antic are too strong. They've got that 10,000 gold lead. They've got the strength to do it all. And at the 30-minute mark, they take game 1.
Ion held on for so long. It looked so good for a while. They were finding fights, they were finding picks. But ultimately, Antic remind them that they are the superior players. They're the superior team, and they would take game 1 because of it.
It was a tough game in the early stages, very even, very back and forth for the first 15, but ultimately when it came to the late game, you never doubted Antic. Let's see if they can close it out right after this.